What's up, guys? Welcome to Among the Fence, my YouTube channel where I do music reviews. My name is Aaron. On today's review, we're going to be checking out the new At the Gates record, The Nightmare of Being. This is the 7th studio album from the Swedish death metal band since 1990, spanning over 3 decades. And like I mentioned in a past video, that At the Gates is one of the bands that actually got me into death metal. I'd listened to them before and I enjoyed it, but I wasn't like an avid listener, and there wasn't really a single album that really just grabbed me, and I couldn't get enough of it. And their last album, To Drink from the Night itself, is one of my favorite records. So after that, I've been sitting here just waiting for them to do something new. I check their Spotify every once in a while. Maybe I missed a single or something. And finally, we got a new full album from them, and I was just so excited. The Nightmare of Being kicks off with the song Specter of Extinction, which starts out with this like acoustic ballad thing that is replaced by guitars and a very open drum pattern that ushers in a chuggy guitar riff of very aggressive vocals. And then the pre-chorus comes in and it's very heavy and chuggy. It's super thick and goes into a very awesome sounding chorus, which has a fantastic melody. And every time the chorus comes around, it just takes over the song. And it has so much authority to it, and it's really hard to predict how the song is going to go exactly, especially the first time you listen to it. You're just kind of on this wild ride and just trying to figure out where it's going to take you. The Paradox has a dissonant guitar riff with, again, aggressive vocals that are very much in your face, and it has a really weird song structure, which again makes it kind of hard to guess where the song is going to go. It goes verse, pre-chorus, verse 2, pre-chorus, and then chorus, and then bridge, and then chorus and outro. It's really strange. Oh, there's a verse 3 after the verse chorus, and then it goes into chorus and bridge and chorus and out. It's really hard to guess again where it's going to go, and it's really hard to predict. And even it kind of makes it feel like it's longer, and it makes it feel like it has a lot more sections when it does that as well too. When the chorus doesn't come around as you would predict it to be, and the chorus is actually the only thing in the song that offers any breathing room. But right after it goes right back into the fire with verse 3. And the third chorus really builds on the emotion. I feel like this whole song just continually climbs upwards, and then it just plummets right down into a harmonized guitar solo before the bridge. And then in the bridge, there's like a drum solo thing going on. And the heaviness in the last chorus and the outro is just fantastic. And it's really neat how it's starting with this guitar riff and this emotion, and it goes through all these different sections, and then it ends on it as well. The title track song, The Nightmare of Being, is like this melancholy, sad ballad song. The guitar passage makes it for a very like unsettling atmosphere as the vocals and other instruments like really just drive the song up and down. And the mix of distorted growls and like the almost whispered vocals, like they're not quite whispered and they're not quite clean. They're just really quiet and distorted, but they're so up in front. It sounds like he's whispering all this stuff in your ear, and it's absolutely amazing. And the song that goes directly after it, Garden of Cyrus, is like this nice jazzy groove thing with the upbeat drum pattern in the intro with like this lonely guitar solo followed by a sax solo. And all this is basically just laying down the red carpet for the vocals to come in. And the vocals give it like this, they're like this slow, drawn out like crawl to them with all this music going on behind them, because the music is still going at its fast pace in the background, and it just gives it this kind of eerie atmosphere at the same time. And then the vocals that echo after the growls in the choruses, it just adds to the groove of the song so much better. And there's just a lot of elements in it. There's a sax solo in it. Touched by the Hand of Death kind of reminds me of like Peter and the Wolf in a way, like the intro to it, or even like Nightmare Before Christmas. It has that very something bad is about to happen kind of feel, especially in the intro. It has a really good riff in the verse, probably my favorite riff on this entire album. And I feel like that's saying something, because At the Gates is really good at writing guitar parts and different melodies and stuff, but this album, nothing really outshines anything else more than the other. Like, you can't walk away from a song being like, yeah, the only part of this song I liked was the guitar riff, just because it doesn't stand out that much. It's all blended in really well. And the chorus has like a To Drink from the Night itself kind of feel, just not as raw, a little bit cleaner, not like as rough around the edges. The Fall into Time is very, like, it has this suspenseful Middle Eastern theatrical thing in the intro. It's very epic in its presentation. It has a thumpy verse with very powerful drums, and I really enjoyed the lyrics in The Fall Into Time just because it tells a very intricate story. And while it's telling this story in its very theatrical way, there's a lot of different sections going on musically, kind of just all around it. Even a bass and drum solo, which it's entirely unexpected. Cult of Salvation is probably the most emotional song on the album. It starts out with some soaring harmonized guitars that break out into, again, another sick riff, which is up there with being one of my favorites. The syncopation just makes the song roll right along. It goes into like a piano interlude that gets taken over by a guitar, but it isn't like taken over completely. It matches it almost perfectly, and there's spoken words. There's a lot of emotion in this song. And then the abstract of Enthroned has a gallopy guitar riff, and this time it really does shine through, specifically in the chorus. The melody is kind of cheerful while just being overall it's kind of a sad song. It feels really dark, and it doesn't really hold anything back. Notably, the guitar solo, everything in this song just feels like they're going all out and they're pushing themselves a little bit further musically and vocally, just all around. Cosmic Pessimism starts out with this beautiful bass line and guitar passage, while there's like clean spoken vocals painting this picture of where we're at in the story and what's going on. It has a Rob Zombie kind of vibe to it, and a lot of people might be scratching their heads, but just listen to, I think it's like Living Dead Girl or something like that, one of his older songs. I believe that's the name of it. Like the intro to that song, to me, kind of has the whole feel of this song in it. And the chorus pushes everything, again, vocally specifically. The vocals feel like they're on edge. It's very dramatic, yet somehow kind of inspirational feeling. And again, the lyrics in this song they're top notch. The closing song, Eternal Winter of Reason, has a descending guitar riff matched with some powerful vocals. It feels like the end of the story. Like this feels like a good completion. The music is very satisfying, and it just doesn't feel like it's in a hurry anymore. Like throughout the whole album, we feel like we're progressing along. And then once we get to Eternal Winter of Reason, it feels like we've slowed down and finally we're able to rest and we've reached our destination, or at least like a checkpoint in a sense. It's very heavy and it's a great ending to this whole album, and I really love the music in it. I love how the guitar riff is really slow and it's kind of drawn out. It just adds to the thickness to it as well. I liked this album a lot, but on the first listen, I gotta say I didn't like it as much as I thought I was going to. I think it's just because of all the different things that they tried to do. They didn't play it safe. They were a little bit more creative. They spread their wings a little bit more, specifically adding like jazz parts to it. Like there's just so many different genres thrown into this album. There's jazz, there's hard rock, there's alternative rock, while being death melodic metal, and there's just so much in here. So it kind of, like, I had to take a step back a little bit after the first time I listened to it. I didn't hate it, but I was still trying to figure it out, I guess. So the first time you listen to this album, you might be taken back a little bit. You might fall in love with it just because of how adventurous they are, and it's just very unpredictable and very concept-y, specifically music-wise. There's a lot of progressive rock, prog metal in there as well. They don't play it safe. They don't do anything by the book, song structure-wise. They just kind of do their own thing. And I feel like the last time they did this, they really set a new standard for death metal. I'm not sure if they really did that here, but I feel like they really stretched their own standard in that sense. I didn't like it quite as much as I like to Drink from the Night itself, just because maybe the nostalgia factor, and I really loved the rawness on that album. It's just raw, it's rough around the edges. The guitar tone is just it's not clean. It's so distorted. It's not polished or anything like that. And they went into this a little bit more polished, not quite as much, a little bit cleaner. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but to me, it just didn't really hold its ground quite as well in the nostalgia factor of like going into listening to At the Gates, you know? I couldn't really find anything that I disliked about this album other than the fact that I wish that there was a little bit more memorable melodic parts to it, or even just a little bit more memorable guitar sections to it. There's a lot of fantastic drum work, some great bass lines, and there's just some all around just good music in it. there just wasn't anything that really stuck out to me all that much. I listened to it about 6 or 7 times, about 3 times just very focused on it. And there wasn't really anything that stood out to me quite all that much, but otherwise it's pretty fantastic. So with all that said, I gotta give At the Gates, The Nightmare of Being, a 8.3 out of 10. I didn't find that I had a hard time going back to specific songs in this album. Like, this is a whole, it's just a complete thing. When some of their past albums, you can go back and you could pick out songs and be like, oh, I really like this one, I like this one. But this whole album is just one lump sum of a story and music all together. If you listen to just one song, you might not like it quite as much, but if you listen to the entire thing, it'll complete it a lot more for you. So I'm going to keep listening to it, and I might do like a second visit to it sometimes towards the end of the year and see if my rating on it has changed and my opinion on it has changed. Maybe I'll like it more, maybe I'll like it less. But I want to know what you guys think. Go ahead and leave a comment below letting me know what you thought of The Nightmare of Being, and let me know what you would rate it. If you enjoyed this review, don't forget to give it a like and consider subscribing and ringing the bell icon. That way you don't miss out on any of my future stuff. Help support me and my channel. Leave a comment below letting me know what I should review next, or just what you thought of the album. I hope you guys all have a good rest of your day or night, whenever you happen to be watching this, and I will talk to you guys next time.
I was trying to ignorant, keep relying on my parents' said to save me. Years gone by.